Renzo,
Hi.
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 We usually pick the expression first, and then we decide, what news we're going to talk about that have to do with the expression, right?
Yes,
But
yes.
I have to confess, this week, the news come first, and then the expression.
Oh, so the news was the inspiration for the expression that we will be talking about today?
Yes, of course. And it's the most talked pop culture news, I think, of the year.
But before you jump into that, and I think I suspect I know, maybe I know what news this is,
It
but
starts with C and ends with old play.
all right, I definitely knew what you're going to talk about, and probably our listeners do too. But before we jump into that, what is this? What are we doing here, Maria? What are we talking about?
And this is just a Spanish phrase.
Oh, just the Spanish phrase where we talk about Spanish idioms, expressions, to explore a little bit about what gives the Spanish language its flavor.
Exactly. So the phrase of this week is con las manos en la masa,
Oh, a delicious phrase.
which means, how would you translate that? You're the translator.
Literally, it is with hands in the dough.
Yes.
And you have to attach something at the beginning of that phrase. You have to say atrapar o pillar con las manos en la masa. So, in English, to catch someone with their hands in the dough.
Or in the CEO.
Nice segue.
Yeah.
So, of course, we're talking about the thing that's gone viral this last week.
Coldplay Gate.
Coldplay
Which
Gate.
to me, it's like, I'm not surprised that, somebody's cheating. I'm not surprised that a CEO might be caught up in a relationship with somebody from the company, head of HR. I'm more surprised by how everybody started talking about this piece of news. I mean, there's so many important things happening in the world, and everybody from my mom to my little sister, like all my friends, all my family, they kept on sending me memes and news and videos about Coldplay Gate.
Yeah, it's been everywhere, but Maria, everybody loves a scandal. Everybody, it's like we're all vultures, and a scandal, a juicy scandal is like a dead animal just waiting for us to swoop down on it.
Okay, I mean, honestly, I think the Epstein scandal and the Wall Street Journal letter that was published, for like the birthday card from Trump to Epstein, that's even more scandalous. But people are talking
I
about
agree.
a CEO. So I wonder if it's our way as a society to like hide under a rock instead of talking about Gaza, about politics, about cutting
Yeah.
funding to public media,
A
about
fun scandal.
yeah,
It's a good distraction.
we just caught a CEO con las manos en la masa, and we care about that? Do we really care about a CEO caught con las manos en la masa?
Apparently we do. And just in case any of our listeners haven't somehow run into this story, Maria, what is the elevator pitch, the little summary of what happened
There
here?
was a Coldplay concert in Boston recently, last week, and the Jumbotron, the camera, the Kiss Cam.
The Kiss Cam.
Showed a couple that looked very cuddly, very happy, just hugging each other. And as soon as they realized they were on the camera, oh my God, they hid. Like she covered her face, he ducked.
That is burned into my memory. His expression as he ducks
to
try to get away from the camera.
Oh my God. And then Chris Martin, the singer of Coldplay, he said, wow, these two, they're either having an affair or they're very shy. And of course, that was like all the social media went crazy. They immediately found out who he was, who she was. They're married. They have kids, not with each other. They were, yes.
Yeah,
they
the
actually
real world consequences here are terrible,
were
of course.
cheating. I feel bad, for the wife and the kids. They have nothing to do, and now it's public. It's a very private affair that became very, very wildly public.
And to tie it back to the expression, this all happened, all this fallout is because these two people having an affair were caught con las manos en la masa. In English, we would say caught red-handed. Have you heard that one?
No, actually, I had no idea what the translation was. But do you know the origin of con las manos en la masa?
Well, I went down a very interesting rabbit hole of research for this one, Maria. Well, first of all, for our listeners, they might be more familiar with caught red-handed. So I'll give you the origin of this because it ties back to con las manos en la masa. So caught red-handed, it is an English expression, old English expression, that derives from an even older, way, way older Latin expression, in flagrante delicto. Have you heard that?
Yes.
And in fact, they still use it in like legalese, in legal, paperwork.
Infraganti, I think we said inflagrante delicto. Okay, go ahead.
Delicto, which means in Latin, when the crime is happening, in the moment that the crime is happening, when it's flaming hot, flagrante. So in other words, when it's happening, it is hot. And that is when people get caught with evidence, undeniable evidence that they are committing the crime because they're doing it at the moment that they're caught.
Yeah, there's no way you can think the CEO hugging that woman, that was not a couple. It's like, oh no, I was just performing the Heimlich maneuver on her because she had just swallowed something. No.
Heimlich. No, they were definitely caught red-handed, con las manos en la masa. So how do we get red-handed? Go back to 16th century Scotland. And at the time, cattle stealing and cattle butchering illegally was a very big problem. People would sneak into other people's land in the middle of the night and kill a sheep and, steal its flesh, steal its hide, everything, the whole animal. But they would, this is a very common crime. But it was very difficult to prove who had done it unless they were caught red-handed. And you can imagine being caught red-handed in this case means...
with bloody hands.
Exactly. So unless people were caught with blood and guts and other animal evidence on their hands, it was very difficult to prove who it was that was sneaking into a farmer's land and killing their sheep. So that's where we get caught red-handed. How do we get from that to manos en la masa? And here I'm going to ask you a question.
Go ahead.
Cuando digo atrapado con las manos en la masa, what does masa make you think of?
To me, I've always thought it's somebody like with making a dough for a cake or for a bread. It's
yes.
like working on the dough.
Yes, the dough, masa. For me, my whole life, I've always thought that. Dough. So it was a much more innocent visual meaning for me growing up. Con las manos en la masa was, I imagine a child sneaking into the kitchen and sticking their hands into the dough.
Like, oh, Mom, you're making me a cake. Yeah. Thank you. Or like,
and getting
my
caught
mom is
in the
making
act.
surprise cookies. I caught you with the hands in the dough.
Yes.
So that's not it.
It's not it. If you go into Old Spanish, masa, of course it means dough, but literally at its base definition, it's a mixture of liquid and solid. And so masa was sometimes used to describe the mass of animal butchering, blood and guts. So con las manos en la masa was similar to hands in the guts, basically. But here's
I have
what's really
right
cool.
Now the same face at that CEO when he was caught.
Totally surprised.
Like,
yes, shocked. I was shocked too when I realized this, because to me it was always something really innocent like pie dough or cookie dough. But here's what's really cool. The reason that we all think that in the cultural zeitgeist of Spanish-speaking countries is that from 1984 to 1991, there was a cooking show in Spain called
Con las manos en la masa.
That's right. And it was a play on words. It was taking this common expression and reframing it in a cooking show. So in that case, it did mean masa, like dough. It was a chef called Elena Santonja, and her show ran from 84 to 91. It was the first broadcasted Spanish-speaking cooking show.
Wow.
And so it was hugely popular. And it made, I think this is what many historians agree, it transformed the meaning of con las manos en la masa in popular culture to the innocent cookie dough instead of sheep blood and guts.
I never understood why we say con las manos en la masa until now. Thank you so much, Renzo. And to our listeners, if you want to hear examples of how to use con las manos en la masa in daily Spanish conversations, visit newsinsospanish.com. We have huge expression catalog, and you can, you will find con las manos en la masa and many other expressions used in Spanish conversation.
That's right. Weekly episodes with news and much, much more. And you'll hear our lovely voices as well.
Yeah, that too.
But in Spanish.
In Spanish. En español.
All right. So luckily, none of us has been caught con las manos en la masa doing anything improper.
Well, we're smart enough not to go to a public place where we're surrounded by cameras if we're trying to hide something.
Well, the day is still early, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amigos, thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.
Bye.